Fuego, we are on. It is the latest episode of Raul Marquez's Punchy with Lupe Contreras. I am your host. If you haven't joined us quite yet, we are the Flaming Hot Cheetos of boxing podcasting. Just to give you an idea of what we're doing here on this particular podcast, we're giving you a little bit of a lighthearted look at the world of boxing. If you haven't subscribed quite yet, make sure you head on over to YouTube. It is Raul Marquez's Punchy with Lupe Contreras. Like and subscribe on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. Look for it under Punchy Show. And you can also go to our web pages on Instagram as well as on Facebook. I am the host, but the star, 1992 U.S. Olympian, former IBF Super Welterweight World Champion, former Showtime broadcaster, current entrepreneur. There's no truth to the rumor that he is one of the candidates for the new pope. It is the one and only Mr. Raul El Diamante Marquez. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great, Lupina, man. That introduction, it keeps getting bigger, bro. But you forgot to mention the best husband, the best father ever, bro. Come on.
I mean, you're up there. I mean, you're up there. There's a lot of candidates ahead of you, but you're certainly up there. How's it
Anybody
going, man?
can.
How's everything?
Everything's good, man. Had a great weekend, a lot of family time. Liam made the All-Star, so we went and got some batting practice, went to the batting cages, went to the baseball fields. Me and Jeanette and Alina running sprints with him, and then we got to visit my parents this weekend, and my dad took us out to eat crawfish. Liam and Alina, I think I told you in the past, Liam and Alina, they love crawfish, and we ate a lot of crawfish, man. It was fun, and
I find crawfish disgusting. They're
I
not.
know. Well, you know why? Because it's expensive, bro. I don't know if you could afford it. That's what it is.
I can't afford it, and also I think it's really more an excuse to drink. It's
Possibly, you know
crawfish.
what? Honestly, I only had like 2 beers. That was it. But it was fun, man. I love to see. You should see Liam eat crawfish and Alina, bro. You
Well,
would believe it.
the
The
whole
way they
process is
learn.
disgusting. The whole process is disgusting. First of all, they look like roaches from the water, and then what you get from them is not all that big of a payoff. It's
That's what my
actually,
mom says that.
yeah.
My
There's
mom.
there's not that much. It's too much work. They're kind of nasty. To not much of a payoff. My weekend was pretty down to earth, man. Thank you for asking.
Yes.
Um, I had my friend Adam in from out of town. As you know, uh, my house, it's part home, it's a shelter for wayward boys as well. They know that I have a lot of empty rooms in my house, so sometimes they hang out here for a little while. Sometimes they hang out here for a long time
It's
when things aren't
happened.
going
It's
quite
happened
well.
before.
Things are
It's
going quite
happened
well.
before.
You've reserved your room. You said if anything ever goes wrong, or
Yes.
everything goes to hell, that you've got your little stay here at the
Appreciate it,
Lupe
Lupina.
Contreras shelter. The Lupe Contreras shelter.
There you
But
go.
anyway, this is our second podcast, as we mentioned before. If you haven't subscribed quite yet, please do so, because our numbers are pretty weak AF, as the kids say. Let me give you an idea as to how poorly
Damn.
things. Let me tell you how poorly things are going right now, Diamante.
Okay.
There are numerous people that are both on YouTube and online that have millions of followers ahead of us. There's a well endowed female bartender who all she does is she wears really low cut off tops, and
Right.
she shakes drinks. She just shakes them,
Wow.
shaking
Okay.
margaritas, whatever. She's got like 3 million more followers than we do. There's a little
Wow.
boy who he just opens up toys, and all he says, he goes, "Cool."
That's
He's got
it.
about, yeah, that's it. He's got about 10 million more followers than we do. So please go to YouTube, like and subscribe. The content that's there, it's a little bit different. As we mentioned, we're trying to give it a little bit different spin. It's boxing, but with a little bit of Latino sabor, a little Latino flavor there. We're gonna throw in some Spanish terms, but we're gonna be courteous enough to translate them for you, let them know what kind of a role they play, in Mexican American culture. But it's all in fun, correct, Diamante?
Yeah. Plus, Lupina, I mean, like we said in the past, for all the boxing fans out there, all over the United States, all over the world, I mean, we've been in this business for so long, bro. Between me and you, I want to say, like, I mean, 35 years of experience, dude. Like me with being on the top of the amateur circuit for 4 years on the national team, then turning pro, and my broadcasting career, now training Geo, and then you like when you tried out when you auditioned for to be a ring announcer. to get on solo boxeo and all that. So many years, and after that, like we got so much experience, so many stories to tell. So I think that's why people should like and subscribe and join us on this, journey that I think it's gonna grow because we got a lot of experience. We got a lot of good stories to say.
It's also a good way to let people see the other side of the business. As you can
Right.
tell, we're not dressed up. I'm not wearing my tuxedo. I haven't even shaved. So it's giving you an alternative look at what else we have going on, and it gives you a look into exactly what our relationship is like, Diamante. As a matter of fact, all day long you're harassing me. You're sending me texts. I want to share people the type of things that I have to put up with. Just a few minutes ago, you're harassing me. You're telling me, what time are we checking our microphone? I'm telling you, hey, we're going to check the microphone at this time. But then you share information with me that is absolutely completely unnecessary. Why are you sending me these types of texts, Diamante? Look, it says, what time are we checking audio? I told you 1 o'clock. And then
Right.
for some reason you share things about your bowel movements.
Well,
You're
I had to
saying
take
I'm
a
a
shit, bro. I mean, it's normal.
well, why do I have to know about it?
Because I want to know what time we had to check our audio. I'm such a perfectionist because I had to take a shit. We're all home meet. I got to take a shit. I don't want to be doing it. What do you always tell me when I'm about to take a shit? Oh, let me let you go. You don't want to talk to me. A lot of people
I
talk on the
don't want to hear
phone.
you. I don't
I
want to
know
hear
that's what I'm
you.
saying. So
That's one of the most disgusting things that I see at the airport. If you realize how many people are on the toilet while they're having a conversation with whomever
but
might
that's
be on the other
normal,
line,
bro. That
it is
happens
not
all the
normal.
time.
It's not normal. It may be just because it happens all the time doesn't mean it's right. But moving on, let's not talk about your big bowel movements. Uh, let's stick with that theme when we talk about dropping a big dookie. The boxing world kind of dropped a big dookie this weekend. Let's
Oh
go
yeah.
to what we like to call the main event. As we mentioned to everyone, we're discussing all the things that are going on with boxing. But the biggest subject had to be what happened this particular weekend. Diamante, I genuinely, at times, I did not know what I was watching. I was confused as to what was going on. But let's go ahead and start with what I consider to be the highlight of the weekend. Let's go to the Vegas, and I'm gonna call you out on this one, Diamante, because you
Okay.
said
Yeah.
this was the one. This was the one that you weren't quite feeling it. You put it into the no quema category, but it
It's
turned out
true.
to prove
Yeah.
you wrong. No, tell me
Yes.
what you saw.
Oh man, you know what? In a way, the monster, man. I mean, and not just in a way because he had the right dancing partner in front of him. Cardenas from San Antonio, like good little fighter. He put up a great fight. I mean, it was explosive. It was action. There was knockdowns. It's everything that people want to see in boxing. That's the kind of fight that people want to see. It was very exciting. And I think that sold the weekend. That saved boxing for sure. Like compared to the other fights, which we're gonna talk about, I think Inoue and Cardenas was a hell of a fight. It was action packed. When Cardenas had him down in the second round, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be an upset. And being Mexican American, of course, and him from San Antonio, Texas. I mean, I wanted him to win. I was hoping that he would drop him again and finish him. But in a way, was very smart. That's why he showed why he's a different level. I think what happened with Cardenas, he got a little bit too happy with the left hook, and he was trying to land that left hook too many times. He was telegraphing it, and in a way, was able to time that, block that, and counterpunch. And he broke him down, man. He dropped him in the seventh round, and then in the eighth round, the referee stopped in and then stopped the fight. A lot of people say it could have been a little bit of a premature stoppage. I don't think so. Sometimes, you got that 2 second rule. Like it could be at 2 seconds a little bit too late that somebody could really be hurt, or 2 seconds a little bit too early where you're saving somebody's career, like where they could, still continue down the road.
I didn't have a problem with the stoppage. I thought Cardenas was doing very, very well. Somewhere in the fourth round, it looked like Inoue landed a really solid body shot that just kind of changed the momentum of the fight. Did you see the same
Yeah.
thing?
I did. I did. That kind of weekend. At that point, I think Cardenas knew. I think I'm done. It just, I got to find ways to stay away from him because this guy he just kept coming. The monster just kept coming with flurries, with hard punches. a lot of pressure, and it was just a matter of time, and that's exactly what happened.
Now, when you take into account everything that went on, obviously the big star of that particular show was supposed to be Naoya Inoue. I keep looking back at everything that happened this weekend, and I just keep coming back to the same conclusion. I think Ramon Cardenas was the guy that just came out as the big star of the weekend, even in a losing effort.
I believe so, man. He surprised not only me, but he surprised I think the whole boxing world because he put on a great performance. He put on a great effort. He showed a lot of heart. He was in great shape. He showed that he's got skills and he deserved a shot at someone like Inoue, especially when he dropped him in the second round. The way his footwork, and then he connected with that left hook, and just out of nowhere, Inoue was on the floor, and he was hurt. He got back up, and just too bad that Cardenas didn't know how to finish him at that point. But it was, I think, because of that performance, Cardenas got a lot of respect, and he's gonna get opportunities. He's gonna get definitely gonna get opportunities down the road.
In trying to find the finish, what mistake do you think that Cardenas made? Was he going for that left hook over and over again, and then Inoue just
Exactly.
kind of figured it out?
Yeah, he was just happy left hook. He was throwing that left hook with bad intentions, and at times he was telegraphing the left hook. So in a way, knew that left hook was coming. So he knew how to neutralize that left hook and block it or go underneath it or counter punch off of that, and that's exactly what in a way did.
A lot of people are criticizing Inoue, but I saw something different. I saw a champion that showed exactly what it means to be a champion. If you're a guy that just goes in there and he's walking through absolutely everybody, a lot of people tend to believe, okay, he was undermatched. We had a guy in Ramon Cardenas, and here's the problem I have with boxing fans. They always say he's fighting guys I've never heard of. The fact that you've never heard of Ramon Cardenas, it's not anything against him. It's against you as a boxing fan. If you're a boxing fan that only watches one pay per view a year and that's all you know about boxing, that's not something that you should put on some of these fighters. Ramon Cardenas, if you follow his career, he's been on Showbox, he's been on ProBox
Yeah,
TV. This is a guy with substantial power who broke a guy's jaw with one single punch on ProBox TV. You could hear the crack of the punch that broke his opponent's jaw. If you don't know him, that's because you haven't done your
right.
homework. That's because you only watch the Dallas Cowboys and you don't know who else is in the league. The
Exactly.
fact that you don't know who Ramon Cardenas is, that's on the boxing fan or the casual boxing fan, not on Ramon Cardenas.
I totally agree, Lupina. Plus, I mean, he earned that spot. He earned that shot at Inoue. He was the mandatory challenger. So Inoue had to fight Cardenas, before he went and fought anybody else. So he earned that spot, and he made a hell of a performance. And I want to see Cardenas again. I definitely want to see Cardenas. He's a good little fighter.
Speaking of the champion in a way, as
Yeah.
I said, I don't believe it spoke more of who he had in front of him rather than some of the deficiencies that people might say, oh, he was exposed, he was this, he was that. He was not exposed. The guy got off the canvas, he regrouped, figured it out, and took out a very game
Exactly.
opponent in
Yeah.
Ramon Cardenas. What do you see next? Obviously, they already have that lined up where he's going to be fighting, I should say.
Yeah.
MJ Akhmadaliev coming up in September, I believe. What are your thoughts on some of those matchups that they have planned for Inoue?
I think that's just. I mean, I think they're safe fights. I mean, I think MJ. He's a good little fighter too. But I think in a way takes care of him. And then I believe he's got another fight after that against Nick Ball. But and I think that's another safe fight. They're good fighters, but I think in a way is a different level. But you know, a fight that I would love to see, and I think it's an all Asian, all Japanese. It'll be huge in Japan. Is that Junto Nakatami? Him, that he's another big name. He's I believe he's 118 pounds. He would have to come up in weight, but that would be a good fight. And I wouldn't mind seeing uh in a way with the other Mexican that fought under Rafael Espinosa. He's like 6'1". That would be an interesting fight. Lupina. I wonder how in a way would deal with the height and reach of Rafael Espinosa. That would be a very interesting fight. Who Rafael fought on that card, and he knocked out his opponent in 6 rounds. He broke him down.
Yeah, he knocked out Vasquez.
Yeah.
He showed a dominant performance. He basically just used his reach, used his length, and that's an interesting matchup as well because, as you said, the guy is 6'1". He's fighting
Mhm.
at 126. That's definitely something to a big challenge for Inoue if he
Yes.
decides to take that particular fight. Moving on to Saturday, we go over to Saudi Arabia. It is Canelo. That was perhaps the most what's the term I'm looking for? That was the most perplexing fight of the night. As a matter of fact, let me show you this quick video. I think a lot of people were asking this same question. Did you understand what he said there?
I couldn't hear.
He said, Canelo, ¿qué pasó? That was the question that a lot of us had on our
¿Qué
minds. Well,
pasó?
what exactly did we see? What exactly did we watch? There were certain points in this fight where, judging by what the commentary was saying and then judging by some of the comments after the fight, I I have to even question my own thoughts and my own knowledge of boxing, but because at
Yeah.
times I simply was not seeing what some people were pointing out. How about you?
I felt the same thing too, Lupe. I felt, Skull. He's a Cuban fighter, and if you heard La Escuela Cubana de Boxeo, what does that mean? It means fluid movement. It means precise counterpunching. It means strong defense, and that's his style. I mean, he's not gonna stand in front of Canelo and fight Canelo toe to toe. That's what people expected. Oh, the Skull ran too much. No, he didn't run. He was boxing. He's sticking and moving. That's his style. Like I said, the Cuban school of boxing. And Canelo, I felt he was slow on his feet. He wasn't cutting off the ring. He wasn't pinning them on the ropes, on the corners. He wasn't making that ring smaller. Canelo needed to run Skull out of the ring. That's what he should have done and stopped them. I felt the fight was a lot closer than what it looked. I put it this way: if Skull was the face of boxing and he was the champion, I think Skull would have gotten the decision. I still think Canelo edged it out 115 or 113, but one of the judges had it like 119 or 109 for Canelo, and there is no way that it was that one-sided, that fight. I didn't see it that way, and I think you believe that believe so too, and I think a lot of people do. A lot of people do.
There were moments in that fight where I saw one fighter, a lot of people are going to say running. I saw moving, you know,
Move it.
I
Like I
saw a
said,
guy moving. I saw a guy using the skills that he had,
mhm.
and I saw him countering. The one criticism I do have against Skull is he went into that fight thinking he could win it on points, and there was no way he was going to be able to win it on
Right.
points. And there was
Yeah.
also no sense of urgency on his part. He was too happy to just be scoring. And I have to give Danny Jacobs a lot of credit, who was doing the unofficial scoring in that particular show. He was the guy who was being very straightforward, saying, "Look, this is what I'm seeing. You guys are criticizing the efforts that Skull is putting forth, but I'm seeing a little something different there."
Yeah, you know what? And then you also had Sergio Mora, the snake, who's over here saying that Skull is running too much. He needs to stand there and trade with Canelo. This is a great opportunity for him. You would think he would stand there and fight. While Sergio Mora, all his life, how did he fight, Lupina? He was a guy that would box and move in circles. That's the way he would win titles. That's the way he would win fights. He wasn't a guy that was going to stand toe to toe with a guy that came forward. But first of all, because he didn't have a lot of power, he wasn't a power puncher, so he was more of a boxer mover type of guy. But then he wants Skull to stand and go toe to toe with Canelo. I just didn't understand that part either.
Now we saw a guy in Skull that was using the tools that he had. He's not a power puncher. You say he comes from the Cuban school of boxing.
Yes.
As he said, even after the fight, he goes, the whole name of the game, what I've been taught from the beginning as a pupil in the Cuban school of boxing was
Yeah.
hit, not get hit. He used those
That's it.
tools. What did Canelo do, and what did Canelo not do in that particular fight? What should he have done differently?
Well, I mean, I said earlier, he needed to apply consistent pressure. The main thing is cutting off the ring, slicing the ring in half, making that ring smaller, making Skull run even faster. If he was running, we'll make him run faster and pin him on the ropes. pin him on the corners. Don't let him move that much. Grab him, hold him, and just try to go to war. More activity by Canelo. Canelo was trying to counterpunch at times. Like there was again for even for Canelo, there was no sense of urgency where like okay, man, I got to put more pressure. I mean, this fight is a little bit close. I got to make this guy fight. This guy's just moving around too much. Let me force him to fight. Let me put more pressure. A better body attack. Hit him on the arms, hit him on the body, just hit him anywhere and run Skull out of the ring. That us as Mexican fighters, I'm a Hispanic American fighter. My style was be aggressive. When I fought guys, Lupina, that move around a lot, what do? You got to cut that distance. You got to make that distance smaller. You got to get closer. You got to be busy. You got to have a good body attack. And sooner or later, yes, you're gonna lose rounds because it's hard to fight a guy that moves around a lot. Okay, but sooner or later, I call it the turnaround. They're gonna get tired. They're gonna stop punching. They're gonna stop moving around their legs, and you're gonna force them to fight your fight. That's just boxing. Like we talked about Shakur Stevenson, a guy that's gonna fight Camarón Cepeda, that's very active, keeps coming forward. You think Shakur's gonna stand there and go toe to toe with Camarón Cepeda? No, he's gonna move. He's gonna give him angles. That's his game. Stick and move, hit and not get hit. That's the way they fight. And then Cepeda's gonna keep coming. Be relentless. Be busy to the body. Try to break him. That's boxing.
Moving on to what we saw on Friday night to kick off this really, for lack of a better term, it was just a bizarre weekend in boxing. We
Weird.
had Garcia versus Romero. It was really
Yes.
weird. You
Yeah.
had that. We were sold on the fact that this was going to be a big show taking place in Times Square. We were all excited. And then if you hear some of the inside information from the people who were actually there, it was kind of like in a corner of Times Square.
Yeah.
It was fenced off from the rest of the public. A lot of these matchups look fantastic on paper, but when they actually went into the ring, not only did we have some surprising results, but we had, up until the fight with Cardenas Inoue, it was perhaps the most surprising result and maybe the most entertaining fight of the night, which was Garcia Romero. What did you see?
Well, as we remembered, I picked Ryan Garcia to put Romero to sleep. Rolly, I thought he was going to put Rolly to sleep. Why? Because Rolly got knocked out by Pitbull. He got knocked out by Tank Davis, and Rolly comes out swinging wild from different angles. But hey, my props to Rolly Romero. He fought a very disciplined fight. He was very composed. He wasn't reckless. And he dropped Garcia in the second round, Lupina. When he dropped him, I was like very surprised. And he took his time and he just kept breaking him down. You could see Garcia's confidence as the rounds went. Like he was like gun shy, man. He never let his right hand go. He was just jabbing and moving. He was I get it looked like he just wasn't feeling it that night. It was a very awkward situation for Garcia, but props to Rolly Romero. He earned it, he deserved it, and he shocked the world because that was a big upset that night.
It was a flat performance from Garcia. I don't know how much of the venue played a role into it. They were talking about, as we mentioned, some of the inside
Yeah.
information from some of the guys who were actually there. They were staying several blocks away. There was a lot of showmanship involved in the whole show. You're coming in the Batmobile. They're bringing taxis after the fight. There's some controversy as well where you would see the guys inside the ambulance. They were going in the ambulance because that was set up as a locker room of sorts. You had to go into the
Right.
ambulance and get
Yeah.
checked out after the fight. People were manipulating the photo saying, oh, so-and-so got beaten so badly, he ended up in the hospital and so on and so forth. But if you follow some of the inside information you're getting from some of the people who are actually there, that certainly wasn't the case. So what happens from this point on forward? Where does Rolly go, and what about Garcia?
Well, I think for Garcia, man, he's got to get his head straight. Again, it's this is what I question. When Garcia beat Haney, we know he was on PEDs, and this was a total different Garcia when he fought Romero off PEDs. So I think Garcia needs to get his shit straight, man. Get his head together, find out where he's at. Uh, Find himself, feel himself. For Rolly, I mean, I think Rolly's got some big fights ahead of him. Maybe with Haney, maybe with Teo Lopez, who also had a great performance that night. So he's in charge right now. He's in control. I think he's able to pick and choose who he's going to fight next. from his performance with Garcia.
At this point, is it dead? Garcia versus Haney. Does it just lose all steam after this particular fight?
My opinion, I would still like to see it. Why? Because of the reason what I told you. Like I would love to see Garcia and Haney, but with Garcia off PEDs. You know what I mean? Obviously they did something. Obviously they helped him in some kind of way because when he fought Haney the first time, he destroyed him, man. He been dropped him a couple of times. He gave him a beating. But look what happened when he fought Rolly the other day. He was flat. It wasn't Garcia. It was, I don't know what happened to him. He, like I said, when he got dropped in the second round, that changed a lot too. He wasn't letting his shots go. We never saw that big left hook from Garcia. He was totally flat, man. I don't know what happened to him.
Speaking of the co-feature Haney versus Ramirez, and speaking of a flat performance, you had a guy in Ramirez who was trying. Obviously he's a guy on the other side of the rainbow as far as his career is concerned. Who do you criticize most for that particular fight? Do you criticize Ramirez or do you criticize Haney for the performance that we both saw on that particular night?
No, I think look, Haney, that's his style. Haney, that's the way he fights. He moves around, throws punches. You catch him with a big shot, he's gonna grab you, he's gonna hold you. Maybe he was being a little bit at times too overly cautious, because he was thinking about, there's a fight in line already, to fight the rematch with Ryan Garcia. So he was doing a little bit of excessive holding, but he did what he always does. That's his style. And I think Ramirez, he's got a lot of wear and tear, a lot of miles behind him, and he was too slow on his feet. He was too slow with his hands. He was single punching. You could hear Robert Garcia yelling at him right there, tira más, tira más. Like he would get a little bit of momentum going, but he just couldn't pull the trigger, man. He couldn't pull the trigger. That's what I saw in Ramirez.
If I do have one criticism, I don't like it when you have these fights already set up at before you get past a particular
Yeah,
opponent,
right.
especially when there's so much money involved. I kind of agree with you on the fact that Haney was just, as the kids say, was trying to protect the bag. He knew there was a big
Yes,
payday coming up. Even
right,
after he saw the results from Garcia Romero, he goes up to the ring and he goes, Ryan, what the hell happened, man? Like
right.
you blew it for both of us.
Yeah, big time. I mean, you could tell that Bill and his dad and Haney were they were there watching the fight, and they were like, man, he just blew a big money bag, because that it was gonna be a fun fight. And the way they shit talk to each other, especially Bill, the way he shit talks to Ryan, and he gets Ryan pumped up, and then Ryan talks a lot of mess with him. It would have been a great promotion.
The first fight of the night was Lopez versus Barbosa Jr.
Hmm.
Easily
Yes.
the best fight of the night on that particular card. What were your thoughts on it? And do you think it was a case of Lopez looked the best that night, or he really didn't have much to compete against that evening?
No, I think Lopez, like I said, we could either see the off version of Lopez or the on version of Lopez, like when he beat Taylor and Lomachenko. And that's what we saw, man. He showed up. He definitely showed up. His boxing IQ, his angles, his elusiveness, just the way, he felt, he was clowning in there. He was very relaxed, and that's Lopez at his best. And he rose to the occasion. I mean, he was fighting a game Barbosa, who was undefeated. He was coming off some good wins against Catterall and Ramirez. But Barbosa tried, man. But just the skill level of Teo, the way he performed that night was something different, and something that Barbosa had never seen before, and he couldn't deal with it.
And I do believe Lopez took advantage of the stage. Once he realized that Barbosa was a big guy that wasn't going to go away and he wasn't going to knock him out, he started performing. Some people might call it showboating a little bit, but he knew it
Right.
was a big stage,
Exactly.
knew he had to
Yeah.
take advantage of the opportunity.
Mhm.
Having said that, for a long time, they were putting these guys in the same category. They were talking about, the four princes, comparing them to the four kings of the early 80s. Would you say that of Romero, Haney, and Lopez definitely showed that he is the best of the group on this particular Friday night?
Oh, absolutely, yes, yeah. Again, his skill set. I mean, his footwork, his elusiveness, and he's very like the way he's very slippery. The way it's almost like he's dancing in there, and he does have good dance moves. You've seen him dance before. Like he's so comfortable in there in the ring. He's in charge. The way he moves back and forth, the way he switches from righty to left, he hits you from different angles. He makes you miss. He taunts you. He clowns you. He plays with you. I definitely think he is the best of that bunch. Yes.
Now, having seen all the fights, it's easy prior to seeing the bouts. We had put them in a certain order. We had our carne asada, our pirateada, and our no quema. And
Right.
and I'm gonna call you out on it, Diamante. You couldn't have been more wrong as to what was going to be the great fight and what wasn't.
But that's
This is going to
boxing.
be
That's
yeah,
boxing.
that is boxing. You don't know what's
Surprising.
going to happen
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
until they're actually in there. But this
Right.
is going to be the counterpart to that. What we're going to
Okay.
call this segment after we've seen what actually happened. I want you to go back, take some of those thoughts you had prior to the fights,
Okay.
and now that you've seen the result, you saw the action, you're going to tell me what the best fight of the night was, which one was just okay, and which one was just absolute crap, absolute bullshit. The first one,
Okay.
we're going to call this one, we're going to call it I Weigh. When we say I Weigh, usually we're like, oh, damn. Oh, hell,
Yeah.
this was more exciting than what we thought. Which one of those fights, I think I know the answer to this, but which one of those fights was going to be your I Weigh, the best fight of the weekend?
I mean, he stole the weekend. He saved boxing. His nickname says it all. The monster, Inoue. And, he had, again, much credit to Cardenas. He had the right guy in front of him. But the way the monster performed, like a real champion that is able to make changes when he's down, and maybe he wasn't out, but he was hurt and down, and he got back up and he was able to adapt and make changes and come back from it and knock out a game. Cardenas, where he dropped him in the seventh round and then he finally stopped him in the eighth round. It's got to be in a way with I Weigh.
Our next category, we're calling it Más o Menos, where, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't great, but it was satisfactory. Who falls into that category?
Well, there's got to be two. I'm gonna pick two, Lupina, because I mean, obviously, Teo Lopez, his performance was the skills, the movement, the speed, all that. He beat a guy that was game, was undefeated in Barbosa, 32-0. I think that was the más o menos, and also the big upset, man. Rolly, he beat Ryan Garcia. He beat him from pole to pole. After he dropped him in the second round, he totally dominated. He dominated. I mean, the fight was not close at all. So that will go in that category, más o menos.
And I'm very proud of this next graphic, Diamante. We're calling this one. This was the absolute BS for the fight of the weekend, and the category we're calling it puro pedo.
Puro
When we say puro pedo,
Puro
it just
pedo,
means
man.
that was some serious BS. I'm really proud of the graphic. Do you see how the
I
pedo is
see
coming
that.
out of the little O?
Puro pedo, bro.
Puro
Puro
pedo.
pedo.
Which fight was just an absolute waste of time, and it actually almost pissed you off that
Man.
you had to watch it.
And I'm glad I didn't buy it, Lupina. I did see it, but I didn't buy it. But you know what? My wife almost convinced me to buy it last minute because, oh, that's going to be our entertainment for the night. Canelo, que la madre, right? The puro pedo fight had to be Canelo versus Skull. Why? Skull boxed, the Cuban school of boxing. He stuck and moved. Canelo did not press the action like you would expect and take care of business because he is the face of boxing. He is the biggest name out there. I expected Canelo to stop this guy. I don't care how he was moving and running or whatever they say, but Canelo should have turned up the heat. So I think that's puro pedo.
We move on with the podcast. It is our co-feature event of the evening. And speaking of your puro pedo matchup, again, we knew what was coming up in September. Everybody
Yeah.
wants to see the fight they announced right after the end of the Canelo fight. We want to see Crawford Canelo. That is
Yes.
the super fight in boxing. They've announced it September 12th, Las Vegas, Allegiant Stadium. By far the biggest fight that they can make, at least stateside, for the sport of boxing. Give me your thoughts on Canelo Crawford after watching what you saw Saturday night. I know that we talked about it this
Yeah,
weekend. Your stance has changed quite a bit as to
absolutely. Yeah.
what might happen in that particular fight.
Well, obviously, I mean, yeah, obviously, I had picked Canelo. I would, pick Canelo to beat Crawford. But if Canelo fights the way he fought Skull, the way he fought the other night, and you can see the size difference there. It's not, I mean, they're pretty much the same height. Yeah, Canelo has been at 168, even light heavyweight. He's naturally bigger fighter, but uh, I think I'm leaning towards Crawford, man. I really think Crawford has a chance of beating Canelo on that night, Lupina.
What changed your opinion? I know when we were first talked about it, you said the size is just too much, man.
Yeah,
Canelo is much larger. He's much stronger. If you've ever been around Crawford, Crawford is a guy that he's not a small dude, man. If you saw
he's
in
not.
the face off that they did inside the ring, he's significantly taller than Canelo.
Yes,
Canelo is thicker.
thicker.
He
Yeah,
is a more powerful, more imposing person. But when you take into account the issues that he had with the movement this past Saturday night against Skull, when you take into account that Crawford by far he's on a whole different level than Skull is, and the fact that he also has a little bit of pop. He doesn't have that one knockout
right.
power, but he has enough to where he's going to bruise you up, he's going to swell you up, he's going to frustrate you. Did that factor at all into your, I guess, your change of opinion on this bout?
Yeah, the way I saw Canelo with Skull, Lupina, he was very slow on his feet, man. It was like he was stuck in mud or sand. He was just very slow on his feet. He was single punching. Uh, Skull caught him. He counter punched him with a couple of uppercuts when Canelo was reaching in. He was kind of like lunging. So Crawford is a different type of cat, man. He's a dog. He's definitely got dog in him. First of all, he's got that wrestling background. He's strong and he spars with big guys, but he's not gonna fight like Skull. He's not gonna be moving in circles like Skull. He's a boxer puncher. He's very smart, high boxing IQ. He's gonna move in circles. He's gonna keep turning Canelo, and he's gonna pick his spots, Lupina, when he's able to exchange with Canelo. And I just don't think Canelo's gonna be able to catch him, especially throwing one, two shots here and there. Crawford is gonna throw combinations. On top of that, Crawford switches from left to right, right to left without even knowing when he does it. That's gonna confuse Canelo. Um, and just overall boxing skills, I think Crawford edges him out, with his footwork, with his speed. Maybe not the power, maybe not the strength, but for sure the speed and the movement and the way he's going to keep moving him in circles. And I think when Crawford takes Canelo into the later rounds, you're going to even see him dominate even more because that's when Canelo kind of gets winded. He's always been known to get tired in the later rounds. And I think Crawford's going to bring it even more. I don't think Crawford will stop him. I don't think he'll stop him, but I think the way Canelo looked the other day with Skull, he fights that way. I think Crawford is going to give him a beating. I really think so. And Canelo's not going to be able to figure him out.
The one factor that I think a lot of people aren't taking into account is the fact that Terrence Crawford, he's motivated by different things than both you and I are. He doesn't care about fame. We've seen him at shows where he kind of sits in the corner somewhere, doesn't
Very humble
doesn't
guy.
want to get in the
Yeah,
ring.
right.
And I think the one factor they're not taking into account, if Crawford loses this fight, it sort of kind of negates everything he's done prior to this. He's been undisputed in two different weight classes. But if he wins this is an all-time career-defining performance. It's a Leonard against Hagler type of performance, and I think a lot of people aren't taking that into account. This means a lot personally to Crawford, not
Yeah.
just to be in the fight. He's not just happy to be there, not just happy to cash the check. He wants to make a statement on September 12th in Las Vegas.
Oh, absolutely. And he's talked about it. This is everything for Crawford. And man, I look forward to this fight. I'm very curious to see what Canelo's going to show up. I believe the Crawford that I mentioned, the game plan that I think he'll follow, I think is going to be a lot, like I said. But Canelo, he's the biggest, he's the bigger guy. Size wise, strength wise. Like he's fought bigger guys, so he needs to use that. against Crawford. He needs to attack Crawford. He needs to pressure Crawford. He needs to force him into a dogfight. He needs to put him in uncomfortable situations. Like I said, pin him on the road, pin him on the corners. He's got to make it a dogfight. Of course, not. I'm not saying like just go straight in without no defense. Be intelligent with his defense coming in, but I believe that Canelo has got to make the fight. He's not going to be able to outbox Crawford from the outside. I think Crawford's got too many skills, too many dimensions. He's too smart for stuff like that, and that's what I think both fighters, the kind of game plan that I think they got to follow to be successful that night.
Your official prediction, I'm putting you on the spot right now. What happens September 12th in Las Vegas?
Right.
Canelo Crawford, who wins the fight?
I'm gonna go after seeing, and I have to repeat myself, after seeing Canelo's last performance against Scull, he might make changes. Hopefully they'll know that look, they gotta jab more, they gotta throw more punches, they gotta go to the body more, they gotta cut off the ring more. Which I don't think Crawford's gonna run like Scull, but I'm gonna go with Crawford by decision, unanimous decision, 12 rounds.
And we go to the place where I made my living for over 25 years, the undercard of boxing. And Diamante, we have a new segment that we're going to be debuting here. Well, I mean, we're only 2 episodes in, so how new can the segment actually
Right.
be?
Right.
What we're going to call this segment. I found a nifty little device online. It's a device that allows you to read comments on the internet, and people can't get upset.
Okay.
They can't get mad at you because you're just reading them. It's not you actually saying it. What you're doing is you put on this little magic hat. I call it the
like
hater
that.
hat.
Ooh,
It's
haters.
a hater hat.
Little haters. I like that.
And what we like, if you put this on, it makes you immune from any type of criticism. The person that you're reading the comments about cannot get upset because, as we mentioned, this is not us saying this. This is the haters.
The haters.
This is what the haters are saying about this particular past weekend.
Okay.
And no one is immune. Obviously, there's 3 guys that have been getting the most hate online. And typically, if you're getting hated on, it's because you're the superstar. You are the big name of boxing. You're the guy making all the cash.
Yes.
If no one is hating on you, that means you're not doing absolutely nothing. So what we're going to do, we're going to read the comments from the haters. We go to the place where the dregs of humanity exist, the comment section on the internet. And we're going to read the comments. The first is going to be this particular comment that we have here. It says, I don't care what anyone says. William Scull was boxing. The game is to hit and not get hit. Canelo was getting tagged and he wasn't able to handle that. Is this guy being a hater or does he have a point?
Lupina, that's exactly what I said earlier. So he's got a point. If El Diamante says that, the guy's got a point.
It's about hit, don't get hit. It's your job to stop that. It's
la
like this.
escuela cubana, la escuela cubana del boxeo. I already told you what that means.
If you don't want me getting in the end zone and doing a touchdown dance, then then stop me. Our next comment, it says, as a true Canelo fan, I can honestly say that this is not the Canelo that I've rooted for. He would have found a way to stop William Scull. Do you agree?
He should have found a way to stop William Scull. If he is the face of boxing, and if he is the guy, that's why they pay him millions and millions of dollars. That's great for him. Yes, he should have found a way to stop William Scull. Let me just give you one example. Marvelous Marvin Hagler when he fought Tommy Hearns. Tommy Hearns, tall, lanky, moving around with great power. When Hagler got cut early in the fight, it was a 3-round fight. When Hagler got cut in the first round or second round, he went after Hearns like a monster. Like he went after him because he didn't want the referee to stop it because of the cuts. So what did he do? He went after Tommy Hearns and he broke him and he knocked him out. And I think Canelo could have done something like that. He should have done something like that.
Again, if you're one of the fighters that we're talking about and you're just tuning in, I'm wearing a special device right now called the Hater Hat. It is a segment here on Raul Marquez's Punchy with Lupe Contreras. Like and subscribe. If you are just tuning in, like and subscribe on YouTube because our numbers are weak AF, as the kids say these days.
Sad, bro. Sad.
Sad. It's super sad. I don't know. But anyway, Let's continue on with the
We're not
show.
giving up. We're not giving
So
up.
this is the hater hat. This is what the haters are saying online. It is not us saying it. It is the haters. And we go to the next comment. It says he doesn't like the guys that move or that he has to chase, but yet there's a guy out there. This name kept coming up. He says there's a guy out there named Benavides who doesn't move, and yet he chose not to fight him. Do you agree with that?
I agree. You're right. I mean, they've asked him about Benavides, and he doesn't want to. I mean, he hasn't said yes to Benavides. I hope that one day, before his career's over, he fights Benavides. I hope he has his career with fighting Benavides. I look forward to that.
The following comment says he hates these types of guys because he's not good enough to beat them. I have to disagree with that one. Canelo is elite. We've always talked about.
Yes.
You got your run-of-the-mill guys. You've got your guys who are at the top of their game. But there is a totally separate level in boxing, and that is elite. Canelo is elite. I don't care if you like him. I don't care if you don't like what he does. He is an elite fighter.
Yep.
Is it a factor of Canelo cannot beat them, or he just simply did not use the tools that he needed to overcome the running, the moving of William Scull?
I just think he didn't use the right tools. He wasn't more aggressive, more persistent, more jabs cutting off the ring. And I'm gonna bring something up, Dupina, that and you were a part of this. Guys that move around a lot always have given Canelo problems, and it's given even fighters like me problems. But you were there for Canelo when his first time in the United States. Who did he fight?
That's right.
Mosley.
Larry Mosley.
Larry
That
Mosley.
was
And what happened?
What happened? He moved,
Yeah.
but that was 18-year-old Canelo. That was the Canelo who was,
Right.
aggressive, hungry.
Yeah.
He
Yes.
went in there, he attacked the body.
Right.
He beat a guy in Larry Mosley that if you were a hardcore fan, you're like, man,
Right.
this guy from Mexico must be really, really good
Right.
because Larry Mosley
Exactly.
is an ugly style. He is
Yeah,
an ugly
very
style to be putting
Very
a guy in on the biggest fight of his career, on the biggest stage of his career.
Uh-huh.
But that Canelo, because he is an elite fighter,
Right.
he overcame that and he beat the guy that was in front of him. We
What
move
about
on.
when he fought this other Cuban, Islam de Lara, in San Antonio? That was another close fight too. Gave Canelo a lot of problems.
Actually, that was in Las Vegas because you got me tickets to that fight and I got to go see it in Las Vegas. It was Lara in Las Vegas. And yeah, early on, Lara was moving. He was giving him a lot of troubles. Then Canelo stepped on the gas and started attacking the body.
I'm gonna argue that. I'm gonna argue that because you know how I am. I think it was in San Antonio.
Okay, lunch because I got tickets. I flew to San Antonio. I mean, I flew to Las Vegas. I got my hotel, got my airline. So you're gonna lose lunch on that one. It was Las Vegas. Lara, Canelo, Las Vegas. Check it. I know I'm right. I'm the one who hasn't been. I'm the one who hasn't been punched in the head repeatedly.
Oh, it's on, baby. It's on.
Yeah. Our next comment. You know what? Let me get up close to the screen here. I can barely see this.
I know. I can't even see it.
It says Rolly did what Haney could not do. Is that true?
Rolly did what Haney could not do. Yeah, I mean it's true. Yeah, he did. He got him out of there. He beat him.
But in defense of Haney, did he have the same Garcia that Haney had in front of him?
That's the whole question, and then, and that's what Bill Haney and his son are Devin gonna argue because it was Haney. I mean, it was Garcia on PEDs, and then when he fought Rolly, he was off the PEDs. And again, even me watching the whole show the other day in Times Square, like fighters fight off the emotions of the crowd. Lupina, not to make any excuses for any of the fighters, but it was just a different, weird setting. Just fighting in front of it was like you're at a gym, like a sparring match. And like I said, I think it means a lot when you come out and you got 60,000 people, 30,000 people, 20,000 people. I mean, for us fighters, we fight. We really do. We fight out the emotions of the crowd. I truly believe that.
In defense of the fighters that were part of that show, also being outdoors, it's very different. It looked to be cold out there. It was probably, I guess, by the time they got in the ring, maybe in the low 50s, in the 40s. I did a fight with one of your old opponents, Fernando Vargas, in Tucson. It was probably late December. It was so cold outside. We were like in an amphitheater. It was so cold at the time. You could see the steam coming off the head of Fernando and his opponent. And when they got in the corner, they had to put literally blankets on them because You
Wow.
sit for a couple of seconds.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
water starts to evaporate. You start getting cold. It makes you shiver,
And it's
and
mental too. It's mental.
it is mental. It's
Yeah,
throwing you off your game. You're not accustomed to being in
absolutely.
that particular setting. Here it says Haney would lose to Rolly. Is that true?
Haney, I don't know. I don't. I would love to see that fight. I picked it earlier. I would love to see Rolly and Haney. And Rolly has gotten better. He's learned from his knockout losses against Pitbull and Tank. And I think Haney fights the same. I don't think he's made any changes. I think he fights the same. And I think, like I said, Rolly has gotten better. He fought very uh, focused in that fight. He didn't go crazy. He wasn't like attacking, like from different places and just being lazy with his defense. He was on for that fight against Garcia. He wasn't reckless.
Another comment directed at Haney. He says he's laughing, but he got knocked down 5 times. As you mentioned, this was not, at least from what you saw, this was not the same version of Ryan Garcia that was in there with Devin Haney.
What did it say again? What did it say?
It says he was out there clowning, but he got knocked down 5 times, basically saying that Rolly did not get knocked down. Haney got knocked down, but he's laughing at what was happening in the ring. It was a very different version of Ryan Garcia than the one that fought Rolly.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and we'll never know until Haney fights Garcia again. I think that fight is still there. There's a lot of questions to be answered, and I want to see that fight. I want to see that fight.
And the last comment says, Ostarine is a hell of a drug.
Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm already joking around at the gym today. Like even with the guys that were doing the football guys, I was like, man, do we need some of that? Do we need PEDs? Are you off PEDs right now, or you're on PEDs? You know what? Just being funny about it.
In defense of Ryan, you know me, I like to work out. I
Yeah.
take supplements. There was a time when I was taking this one particular supplement that it actually got banned, because if you do any research into the supplement industry, a lot of it is based in one particular state. They mix a lot of ingredients. You have these mass producers that basically bottle products for different brands. So the same thing that is coming out was not the same thing that was in prior to that particular bottle. Say one brand gets bottled, they take out that bottle, switch up the labels, put something else in it, and there
Yeah.
can be some residual stuff that gets mixed in there. I used to be on this one thing called, I won't say the name of it. We don't want any legal action. But anyway,
Well, it didn't
I
work
was
because when you sparred me, it didn't. I mean, it didn't
this
help.
this was prior to that. This
Oh,
was
okay,
prior
okay,
to that.
okay.
This was
All
prior to
right,
that.
all right.
But I've shown you the pictures. You saw the type of shape I was in. I have no idea what was in that particular supplement,
Right.
but whatever it was a hell of a drug, and it actually
hell
got
of a
that
drug.
particular it got that particular product banned.
Yeah.
But that does conclude the podcast. As we mentioned, we are implementing new technology. We got the hater hat. It will be returning shortly. But for right now, we will be wrapping up the podcast. Remember, like and subscribe, because our numbers are weak AF, and that's just what, Raul. That is
Sad, bro.
just
Sad.
that
Bro.
is
So
sad, bro. We want you to go to YouTube, like and subscribe to Lupe Contreras is Punchy with Raul Marquez. Check out the audio version on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts on at Punchy Show, and join our pages on Facebook as well as Instagram at Punchy Show. But for right now, that does it. Episode 2 in the books. Raul Marquez has a hot young wife to satisfy, 2 kids to raise,
That's
and
it.
I've got a dog who actually has a little bit of stomach problems right now, so I gotta go see to make sure he didn't drop a big
He's
old
like me,
deuce.
Lupina. He's like me. He's
He
like
is
me.
like you, and believe me, he's already taken about 3 of those that I've had to pick
La
up. So
madre.
that concludes the podcast. We will see you next time. This is Raul Marquez is Punchy with Lupe Contreras, the flaming hot Cheetos of boxing podcast. Until next time, we will see you then.